Hello, it is the end of the year and I have filled up my entire Hobonichi Week's mega notebook. Well, I filled up most of it at least, but we'll get into that. But today I wanted to show you how I used my Hobonichi Weeks as a planner in 2025, flip through my typical weekly spreads, and also give my final thoughts after using this for the entire year. So for context, this was my first year using the Hobonichi Weeks, but for the last probably around 10 years, I've been bullet journaling. So I've been setting up my weekly spreads in a blank A5 size dot grid notebook every single week. And my go-to dot grid notebooks were the Muji dot grid that was spiral bound. I'm not sure if they make that one anymore. I also like the Rhodia web notebook like this one. You can see how I bullet journaled before. And my ride or die, the Midori MD, also in the A5 size dot grid. But my life looks a little different now, so setting up a bullet journal was starting to feel a little bit tedious and kind of unnecessary for my current needs. So enter the Hobonichi Weeks. Of all the planner options that I was looking at, this one seemed like the most appealing bullet journal alternative to me. And in terms of functionality, it had the monthly layouts in the front. The weekly spreads had a dated vertical layout on one side with the blank grid memo page on the other, which is pretty similar to how I was doing my bullet journal spreads before anyways. And then at the back, you have all these blank grid memo pages as well. Also, do you see just how pretty that is? So I was really excited to use this in 2025. So my first impressions when I received this was that it was just so pretty. So this is the color pistachio, and the only way I could describe it is like a warm chartreuse green. But the year on the front is in this nice gold, which I think pairs well with the pistachio color. And then the year is also debossed on the spine. So I imagine if you use these year after year, it would really look nice stacked together, and you just see that on the spine or, stacked side by side on a bookshelf. And this is the hardcover version, and the paper inside is a Tomoe River paper, which I had actually never used before, but it's super soft and thin and kind of like Bible paper, I think is a good way to describe it if you're familiar with that. And the notebook itself measures around 7 inches tall by 4 inches wide. So it's not exactly B6 size, but it's still nice and compact, especially if you compare it to the standard A5 size notebook. So that's in comparison to the Midori MD A5 size. But for the whole year, I used this as my personal planner, and I primarily used it with my trusty 0.38 Pilot Juice pen, which is just a normal black gel pen. But I also was trying out this 0.3 Pilot multi-pen, which was pretty nice considering how small and how thin the paper is in the Hobonichi Weeks. In terms of how I actually use this during the year, we can start at the front. So I used the monthly spreads to jot down any appointments, any birthdays, any time off of work. So things that were attached to a specific date, basically. I've been slowly transitioning away from my digital calendar, so it's definitely nice to have all the months available at a glance in the beginning. But the star of the show and the most functional planning that I have done can be seen in my weekly setups. So this is what a typical weekly layout would look like for me, and I'd say I stayed pretty consistent with this layout over the entire year. So on the dated side on the left, I would start by writing down any appointments or events with a time commitment. Then I would move on to the right side here that has the blank memo grid. And here I would have my daily habit tracking, which you can see at the bottom. I'd also do a brain dump of some meal planning or groceries or cooking plans. And then I'd also just list out whatever tasks I wanted to get done during the week. So you could see here, I just had a general brain dump of the weekly tasks I wanted to get done. I also had some wedding specific tasks that I wanted to get done. But once that initial brain dump happens, then I easily just plopped whatever task I wanted to get done to whatever day I had time to make it a priority. I found that this system of brain dumping everything first and then assigning them day by day gave me a lot more flexibility and was a lot more realistic and aligned with what I had energy to actually accomplish in a day. So this layout stayed pretty consistent for me throughout the year, I think because it was just simple and it just worked. So this spread is using the 0.3 multi-pen, and I was trying out using different colors, but I didn't really like the visuals of it after the whole page was filled. So for most of the year, I did go back to just using my 0.38 Pilot Juice pen. But even on weeks when I didn't plan on doing much, I still found a way to use my planner. So this is when I took a trip to Canada for the week, and I wasn't planning on getting any real tasks done, but it was helpful to give me some general flight information, what cities I'd be in on which days, any major points in the itinerary. I planned out the outfits I would wear based off the weather that was in the forecast. So it was still pretty flexible in that sense that I was able to use it even on days when I didn't have my usual routine. So knowing me and how I've used planners in the past, I wasn't surprised that these weekly and monthly spreads work for me because they're simple enough with just enough room for flexibility during the week, especially with this blank memo grid on the right side. But what didn't work for me were all these beautiful grid memo pages in the back. So at the start of the year, I really envisioned myself using only this notebook. So this notebook was supposed to be my EDC, my everyday carry, but that just didn't happen and that just didn't pan out for the year, and that's okay. But this is the Weeks Mega. So this has around 200 blank grid memo pages here in the back, while the original has around 70 pages. And at the end of the year, I only used about 84 pages. So I would have personally just been fine with the regular size, but that's on me. But if you're like me and expect to still use some other notebooks in tandem, then I recommend probably saving your coin and sticking with the regular size. But I definitely won't let these pages go to waste, and I'll find some way to use them in the new year. Well, after using this Hobonichi Weeks Mega for the entire year, I have decided to say goodbye to the hobonichi and try something else. I actually don't have any major complaints about it, but it did start to feel a little restrictive at the end of the year, and I feel like I just need more separation between, my planner side over here and then all my extra pages and blank pages on this side. But if you're thinking about picking one up for yourself, I will say that it is a really nice, high quality notebook. Like, this is what it looks like after a whole year of use. If you're like me and your planner or your journal feels like an extension of yourself, then I would say it does feel pretty nice to use something that's beautiful and special on a daily basis and actually get really good use out of it. I'm still figuring out what my setup will be for 2026, but there's no rush, and I'm taking my time to really consider what I need and what will work for me in this coming year. But if you stuck around this whole video, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!